The crimson blade hummed with ancient power as Marcus Thorne pulled it from the dying warrior's grasp. Blood, purple as twilight wine, dripped from the Kethlari female's wounds onto the battle-scarred deck of the mining station. Her amber eyes, larger than any human's, fixed on his face with something between shock and recognition. You cannot, she whispered in accented standard, her voice like wind chimes in a storm. That is my clan's honor blade. Only a mate sworn may. Marcus didn't have time for alien customs. The hegemony death squads were 30 seconds out, maybe less, and this ornate weapon was the only thing standing between him and a very messy death. The human mercenary had seen enough plasma burns for one lifetime. Lady, I don't know what mate sworn means in your culture, but right now this sword is keeping us both alive. He hefted the crystalline weapon, surprised by its perfect balance. The blade seemed to respond to his grip, growing warmer, almost eager. The Kethlari female tried to sit up, wincing as purple blood seeped through her bioarmor. My name is Zarathin of the Moonspear clan, and you just claimed me as your life-bonded mate before the eyes of my ancestors. Marcus paused mid-swing as another wave of hegemony shock troops rounded the corner. I did what now? Duck! Zarathin shouted. Three things happened simultaneously. Marcus dropped into a combat crouch. A plasma bolt sizzled over his head, singeing his already messy brown hair. And the Kethlari sword in his hands erupted with silver fire that definitely wasn't supposed to happen with human genetics. The first hegemony soldier, a 7-foot-tall Vorthan with more cybernetic implants than original flesh, stumbled backward as the energy wave hit him. His mechanical voice synthesizer crackled with electronic infusion. Impossible. Human cannot channel Kethlari's soul fire. Tactical error. Reassessing threat parameters. Yeah, well, surprise. Marcus lunged forward, the alien blade singing through the air. It cut through the Vorthan's energy shield like it was made of paper, then through the alien's torso with almost disturbing ease. I'm full of impossible today. The second soldier, a sleek Andorian with too many eyes and not enough sense, tried to flank him. Marcus spun, letting instinct and whatever alien mojo was flowing through the sword guide his movements. The blade curved in an arc that should have been physically impossible for human joints, but somehow his body moved like water, like he'd been trained by the sword itself. Zarathin watched from her position against the bulkhead, amber eyes wide with something that might have been terror or admiration. Hard to tell with alien expressions. By the 7 moons of Kethlar, she breathed. The blade has accepted you. Completely. Less talking, more not dying. Marcus pivoted to face the third soldier, a hulking Braxton whose chitinous armor looked like it could stop a starship cannon. This thing comes with an instruction manual. It is reading your soul, Marcus Thorne, Zarathin said, and hearing his name from her lips sent an odd shiver down his spine. The sword knows you now, knows your heart. It will show you the way. The Braxton charged, mandibles clicking with predatory hunger. Marcus raised the sword, and for a split second, he could swear he heard whispers in an alien tongue, voices of long-dead Kethlari warriors offering guidance. The blade moved of its own accord, tracing symbols in the air that left trails of silver light. When the symbols completed, the Braxton simply stopped, frozen mid-charge like someone had hit a pause button on reality. Okay, Marcus said, lowering the humming weapon. That's new. Temporal suspension field, Zarathin explained, trying and failing to stand. Master-level technique. Takes most Kethlari warriors decades to learn. You just did it instinctively. Marcus looked at the sword, then at the wounded alien female, then at the frozen Braxton, who was probably having a very confusing day. Right. So about this mate-claiming thing, before Zarathin could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the mining station. The automated voice of the station AI echoed through the corridors with all the personality of a board accountant. Attention all personnel. Priority Alpha transmission received from Kethlari High Command. All available units are to converge on Section 7 immediately. Repeat, all available units to Section 7. That's us, Marcus muttered. That's where we are. The sword, Zarathin whispered, and now there was definitely fear in her voice. It sent out a signal when you first activated it. A mating call transmitted across hyperspace frequencies. Marcus felt his stomach drop somewhere around his boots. What now? Every unmated Keflari female within 100 light-years just received notification that Zarathin of the Moonspear clan has found her life-bonded mate. She looked at him with something between apology and panic. "They're coming, Marcus Thorne. All of them." The mining station shuddered as ships began dropping out of hyperspace. Through the nearest observation window, Marcus could see sleek Keflari vessels materializing like deadly silver flowers against the star field. Dozens of them, then hundreds. "How many unmated females are we talking about here?" he asked, though he was pretty sure he didn't want to know the answer. "Approximately 47,000, Zarathin said in a small voice. "Give or take a few hundred for those currently in deep space missions." Marcus sat down heavily on a cargo crate, still holding the sword that had just made him the most wanted man in several star systems. 47,000 alien warrior women. All wanting to what exactly? "Challenge me for the right to be your mate," Zarathin said. "Single combat. To the death. The winner gets you. And if I refuse to participate in this insanity..." Zarathin's expression grew even more apologetic. "The sword will not release you. Once claimed, the bond can only be broken by death or by ritual combat. And since you are now technically Keflari property, Marcus's voice rose to a pitch that probably wasn't very manly. "I'm nobody's property, lady." The sword disagrees. She gestured weakly at the weapon, which had begun glowing brighter. "Look at your hands." Marcus looked down and cursed creatively in 3 languages. Silver markings, delicate as filigree and complex as circuit boards, were spreading up his arms from where he gripped the sword. They moved under his skin like living tattoos, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. "Bonding marks," Zarathin confirmed. "They will spread until they cover your entire body. When the process is complete, you will be as much Keflari as human. Stronger, faster, nearly immortal. But also..." She hesitated. "Also what?" "Also extremely attractive to Keflari females. The markings release pheromones that our species finds irresistible." Marcus closed his eyes and counted to 10 in Old Earth Mandarin. When he opened them, the first wave of Keflari boarding craft were already docking with the mining station. Through the thin walls, he could hear the distinctive whine of energy weapons powering up and the melodic war chants of alien warriors preparing for battle. "So let me get this straight," he said, standing up and feeling the sword's weight settle into his grip like it belonged there. "I picked up your family's magic sword, which automatically married me to you, sent out a galaxy-wide dating profile without my consent, and now I'm about to be fought over by an army of alien Amazon warriors. That is essentially correct, yes." Marcus looked at Zarathin, wounded and beautiful and clearly terrified of what was coming. He looked at the sword, humming with power and possibility and definitely not letting go of his hand anytime soon. He looked at the boarding craft full of deadly alien females who were probably already arguing over who got first dibs on the strange human who'd somehow claimed one of their own. Then he started laughing. "Marcus," Zarathin asked uncertainly, Are you suffering from combat shock?" "No," he said, wiping tears from his eyes. "I'm just thinking about my last performance review. Thorne shows initiative, but has difficulty following protocol. If they could see me now." The first Keflari warriors burst through the airlock, and Marcus got his first good look at what he was dealing with. They were tall, elegant, and absolutely lethal. Each wore form-fitting bioarmor that seemed to flow like liquid metal over curves that were definitely feminine, but also packed with enough muscle to bend steel. Their faces were hauntingly beautiful, with those large amber eyes and high cheekbones, but their expressions promised violence. The leader, a warrior with intricate golden tattoos covering her arms, pointed a plasma rifle at Marcus while keeping her gaze fixed on Zarathin. When she spoke, her voice carried the authority of command and the promise of death. "I am Captain Lyraneth of the Starwind clan. I claim right of challenge for the mate bond of the human Marcus Thorne." "Counterclaim," shouted another warrior as she shouldered through the crowd. I am War Sister Velterra of the Crimson Dawn. The human is mine by right of first blood. Both of you can step back. A third voice added, cool and dangerous. I am Huntress Kiralinx of the Shadow Moon clan, and I have tracked this human across 6 star systems. My claim supersedes yours. More warriors poured through the airlock, each announcing increasingly elaborate titles and progressively more violent intentions. Marcus noticed that none of them seemed particularly interested in what he might want, which was starting to irritate him almost as much as the whole being claimed as property thing. Ladies, he shouted, raising the sword. The silver fire that erupted from the blade got their attention immediately. I appreciate the enthusiasm, really I do, but maybe we could discuss this like civilized beings instead of... He speaks, gasped Captain Lyraneth. The human speaks with the voice of the blade. Impossible, breathed War Sister Velterra. Only a true mate bonded can channel the ancestral voices. Which means, Huntress Kiralinx said slowly, the bonding is complete. He is fully claimed. Marcus felt a sinking sensation as he realized that whatever he'd just done had made the situation significantly worse. The warriors were no longer looking at him like a prize to be won. Now they were looking at him like a god to be worshipped. And that, he reflected as more ships continued to arrive and the mining station's corridors filled with the sounds of thousands of alien warriors all claiming the same human mate, was probably going to be even more complicated than being property. The sword pulsed in his grip, and for just a moment, Marcus could swear he heard the ghost of ancient Kethlari laughter echoing through his mind. This was going to be a very long day, 3 hours. Later, Marcus found himself in the most surreal standoff of his military career. The mining station's main cargo bay had been converted into an impromptu arena, with roughly 15,000 Kethlari warriors arranged in concentric circles around him. The rest were either still arriving, fighting over parking spaces in orbit, or engaged in preliminary duels to determine who got to challenge him first. This is insane, he muttered to Zarathin, who had insisted on staying by his side despite her injuries. There has to be some kind of rule about this. Some precedent. There is, she replied, wincing as she adjusted her position on the makeshift medical platform the warriors had constructed for her. The Great Mating Wars of the Third Era. They lasted for approximately 400 years and resulted in the near extinction of our species. Marcus stared at her. And you are telling me this now? I was hoping it would not be relevant. A thunderous roar erupted from the crowd as 2 more warriors began fighting over who had the right to challenge him next. Captain Lyraneth was currently holding the arena floor, having defeated 7 challengers in succession. Her golden bioarmor was scorched and dented, but her grip on her energy spear remained steady. This cannot continue, announced a new voice, cutting through the chaos like a blade through silk. The assembled warriors immediately fell silent, turning toward the cargo bay entrance. Marcus felt his heart skip as the newcomer entered. She was tall, even by Kethlari standards, with platinum hair that seemed to glow with its own inner light. Her bioarmor was pure white, marked with symbols that hurt to look at directly. But it was her eyes that made Marcus's breath catch. They weren't amber like the others, but silver like molten mercury. I am Elder Sylvana of the First Clan, she announced, her voice carrying easily across the vast space. Speaker for the High Council of Kethlar Prime. The warriors immediately dropped to one knee, including Zarathin. Marcus remained standing, partly out of ignorance, and partly because the sword in his hand was now vibrating like a tuning fork. Elder Sylvana approached him with the fluid grace of a predator, stopping just outside sword reach. Her silver eyes studied him with an intensity that made him feel like a specimen under a microscope. Marcus Thorne of Earth, she said, you have created quite the situation. I'm getting that impression, yeah. Marcus kept his voice steady despite the fact that his heart was trying to hammer its way out of his chest. Any chance we could work out some kind of compromise? Maybe a nice fruit basket instead of ritual combat to the death. Elder Sylvana's lips curved in what might have been amusement. The Bondsword has chosen you. There is no compromise with destiny. Destiny's overrated. Marcus replied. I prefer making my own choices. Do you? The elder circled him slowly, and Marcus noticed that every warrior in the bay was watching her movement with rapt attention. Tell me, human, what do you know of the Kethlari soul bond? Apparently more than I wanted to. Marcus kept the sword ready, though he wasn't sure what good it would do against someone who made 15,000 deadly warriors kneel with just her presence. The bond is not merely ceremonial, Elder Sylvana continued. It links two souls across space and time. What one feels, the other experiences. Pain, joy, fear, love, all shared completely. Her silver eyes fixed on his. It cannot be broken by death. Even when one partner dies, the other carries their essence until they too pass into the next realm. Marcus glanced at Zarathin, who was staring at the floor with what looked like mortification. She didn't mention that part, because she did not expect the sword to accept you so completely, the elder said. A partial bonding might have been severed, but you, Marcus Thorne, have achieved something no human has ever accomplished. You become Kethlari in all but birth. The silver markings on Marcus's arms pulsed brighter, and he could feel them spreading further up toward his shoulders. Along with the markings came new sensations. Enhanced hearing that let him pick up conversations from across the bay, improved vision that could track the minute movements of individual warriors, and a strange new awareness of the emotions radiating from every Kethlari in the room. Great, he said dryly. Do I get a membership card and a decoder ring too? You get something far more valuable, Elder Sylvana said. You get the chance to prevent a war that would consume half the galaxy. The cargo bay fell completely silent. Even the background hum of the station's life support systems seemed muted. Explain, Marcus said. The hegemony is moving against us, the elder replied. Their fleets are massing at the border worlds, preparing for a final assault on Kethlar space. We have fought them for 3 generations, and we are losing. Our population dwindles with each battle. Our worlds burn. Our children die before they can take their first breath. Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the station's recycled air. What does that have to do with me accidentally getting married to your entire species? The bond sword you carry belonged to Kirathane the Uniters, the warrior who first brought the clans together 15,000 years ago. Elder Sylvana's voice took on the cadence of ancient legend. It was said that when the Kethlari faced extinction, a stranger would come. One who could unite not just the clans, but unite us with the strength we needed to survive. A human, Marcus said, pieces of a very large and very terrifying puzzle clicking into place. A mate-bonded human, the elder confirmed. One who could stand as equal to any Kethlari warrior, who could speak with the voice of our ancestors, who could command the loyalty of our people not through conquest, but through genuine connection. Marcus looked around the cargo bay at 15,000 of the deadliest warriors in known space, all watching him with expressions that ranged from worship to desperate hope. He thought about the hegemony fleets massing at the borders, about alien children dying in wars they didn't start, about the weight of an ancient prophecy settling on his shoulders like a lead blanket. And if I refuse, he asked, then the clans will tear themselves apart fighting over you. Elder Sylvana said simply, the hegemony will finish what they started, and both our species will be remembered only as footnotes in some other civilization's history books. Marcus closed his eyes and felt the sword pulse in his grip. Through the bond, he could sense Zarathin's emotions, fear, hope, and something deeper that made his chest tight. He could feel the anticipation of the warriors around him, their desperate need for someone, anyone, who could offer them a path forward that didn't end in extinction. When he opened his eyes, Elder Sylvana was still watching him with those unsettling silver orbs. Okay, he said. Let's say I go along with this crazy plan. What exactly are you expecting me to do? I'm one human with a magic sword, not a miracle worker. You are mate-bonded to the finest warriors in the galaxy, the elder replied. You can speak with the authority of the clans, command ships, lead fleets. More importantly, you can do something no Kethlari can do. You can unite the fractured human resistance movements. The what now? Did you think Earth simply accepted hegemony rule? Elder Sylvana's smile was sharp as a blade. There are human rebels throughout the occupied territories, scattered, disorganized, fighting losing battles against impossible odds. But if they had a leader, someone who could coordinate their efforts with ours, someone who could bridge the gap between species, Marcus finished, understanding beginning to dawn. Someone who was literally bonded to both sides. Now you begin to see. Marcus looked at the sword in his hands, feeling the weight of more than just metal and crystal. He thought about his home world, conquered and stripped of its resources by the hegemony. He thought about his family, scattered to the stellar winds or dead in the resistance. He thought about the path that had led him here, from soldier to mercenary to the most reluctant bridegroom in galactic history. There's just one problem, he said. I'm still technically married to all of you. The warriors stirred restlessly, and Marcus could feel their emotions shift toward confusion and concern. That is correct, Elder Sylvana admitted. The Bondsword recognizes no hierarchy among those it claims. You are mate-bonded to every unmated Kethlari female, with equal obligation to each, which means you will need to manage the largest, most complicated relationship in recorded history while simultaneously planning and executing a galaxy-spanning military campaign against the most powerful empire in known space. Marcus stared at her for a long moment. Then he started laughing again, harder this time, until tears streamed down his face and his sides ached. Marcus, Zarathin asked worriedly, are you having another episode? No, he gasped, wiping his eyes. I just realized something. 6 months ago, I couldn't even manage a relationship with one human woman. Now I'm supposed to handle 47,000 alien wives and save the galaxy at the same time. Is that a yes? Elder Sylvana asked cautiously. Marcus looked around the cargo bay one more time, at the warriors who had traveled across impossible distances for the chance to fight for him. At Zarathin, wounded and beautiful and brave enough to trust a stranger with her clan's most precious artifact. At Elder Sylvana, carrying the weight of her species' survival on her shoulders, he raised the sword, and silver fire erupted from its blade in a column that reached the cargo bay ceiling. When he spoke, his voice carried the harmonics of every Kethlari warrior who had ever wielded the weapon, a chorus of the dead speaking through the living. I am Marcus Thorne of Earth, he declared. I claim the mate bond with every warrior here, and I accept the responsibility that comes with it. The hegemony wants a war? Let's give them one they will never forget. The roar that erupted from 15,000 Kethlari throats was loud enough to shake the mining station superstructure. Through the bond, Marcus could feel their emotions washing over him. Joy, fierce pride, and a determination that burned like a star going nova. Elder Sylvana bowed deeply, the first time he'd seen her show deference to anyone. Welcome to the family, Marcus Thorne. Try not to let it kill you. Too late for that, Marcus replied, feeling the silver markings spread across his chest as more ships continued to arrive. I'm pretty sure this is going to be the death of me. Perhaps, Zarathin said, struggling to her feet and moving to stand beside him. But what a way to go. Marcus looked at the sword in his hands, at the woman by his side, at the army of deadly alien warriors who were now apparently his responsibility. Through the observation windows, he could see more Kethlari ships arriving every minute, and beyond them, the first distant flickers of hegemony scout vessels. The war was coming whether he wanted it or not. But for the first time since this whole mess started, Marcus Thorne felt like he might actually have a chance of winning it. Sir, a young Kethlari communications officer burst into the cargo bay, her amber eyes wide with urgency. Priority transmission from the outer sensor grid. Hegemony battle fleet detected, bearing 27 Mark IV. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. The celebratory mood in the cargo bay evaporated instantly. Captain Lyraneth stepped forward, her tactical mind already shifting into combat mode. Fleet composition. 12 dreadnoughts, 40 cruisers, approximately 200 fighter squadrons, the officer reported. And she hesitated, glancing at Marcus with something like fear. They are broadcasting a surrender demand specifically addressed to the human Marcus Thorne. Elder Sylvanas' expression darkened. They know. Somehow, the hegemony knows what has happened here. How is that possible? Zarathin demanded. The bonding signal was encrypted on Keflari frequencies. Unless, Marcus said slowly, pieces clicking together in his mind, they have been monitoring your communications all along, waiting for exactly this kind of opportunity. A chill settled over the assembled warriors as the implications became clear. The hegemony hadn't just stumbled across their gathering. They'd been prepared for it. It's a trap, War Sister Velterra growled, her hand moving instinctively to her weapon. They want to destroy our entire fleet in one engagement. No, Marcus said, the sword's ancient wisdom whispering at the edges of his consciousness. They want to capture me. Think about it. A human who can command Keflari forces? I'm either the greatest weapon they have never had, or the greatest threat they have ever faced. Elter Sitvana notet crimini. Admiral Corax Thull commands that fleet. He is known for his creative interrogation techniques. If he takes you alive, he won't get the chance, Captain Lyraneth declared, raising her spear. We fight here, we fight now. Against 12 dreadnoughts. Huntress Kira Lynx shook her head. Even with our combined fleets, we are outnumbered 3-1. Marcus felt the weight of 47,000 lives pressing down on him. Through the bond, he could sense their emotions, fear, determination, and an absolute willingness to die rather than let him fall into hegemony hands. The intensity of their loyalty was both humbling and terrifying. There's another option, he said quietly. I surrender myself. Buy you time to escape. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Every warrior in the cargo bay began shouting at once, their voices blending into a thunderous chorus of rejection. Several actually drew weapons, though Marcus wasn't sure if they were planning to fight the hegemony or prevent him from leaving. Absolutely not. Zarathin struggled to her feet, swaying with the effort. The bond will not permit separation. If you die, we all die. If you are tortured, we all suffer. She speaks truth, Elder Sylvana confirmed. The mate bond links all of us now. Your pain becomes our pain. Your death becomes our death. Surrender is not an option. Marcus closed his eyes, feeling the silver markings pulse with his heartbeat. The sword in his hands was warm, almost hot, as if responding to his emotional state. When he opened his eyes again, he could see tactical possibilities flowing through his mind like water, strategies and counter-strategies emerging from some deep well of inherited knowledge. Then we don't fight their battle, he said. We fight ours. Explain, Elder Sylvana commanded. Marcus stepped into the center of the cargo bay, raising the sword so all could see. The hegemony expects us to meet them in open space, ship to ship, following their rules. Instead, we disappear. Impossible, Captain Lyraneth protested. Our ships are too large for stealth technology, and hyperspace jumps require time to calculate. Not hyperspace, Marcus interrupted. Subspace. Old human smuggler trick from the occupation. We drop into subdimensional space, move through the cracks between reality. It's dangerous, unreliable, and completely insane. Which is why it might work, Huntress Kira Lynx said slowly. The hegemony would never expect such a desperate tactic. More than desperate, War Sister Velterra added. Suicidal. Subspace navigation without proper equipment? Half our ships could be lost in dimensional rifts. Better than all our ships being destroyed in conventional battle, Marcus replied. But we are not just running away. We are positioning ourselves. He moved to the tactical display that had been set up near Elder Sylvana's position, gesturing for the others to gather around. The holographic star map showed the local system, with hegemony forces approaching from Galactic North. Here's what we do, Marcus continued, his finger tracing paths through the three-dimensional display. We split the fleet. 2/3 drop into subspace and circle around to the hegemony's rear flank. The remaining third stays here and makes noise, lots of it. Transmissions, engine signatures, everything to make them think our entire fleet is preparing for a last stand. A faint, Elder Sylvana said, understanding beginning to dawn in her silver eyes. While they focus on the obvious threat, the real attack comes from behind. Marcus finished. But not at their battle fleet, at their supply convoy. The tactical display shifted, revealing a secondary group of ships trailing behind the main hegemony force. Cargo vessels, fuel tankers, ammunition haulers, all the unglamorous but essential support craft that kept a battle fleet operational. Cut off their supplies, and those dreadnoughts become very expensive paperweights, Captain Lyraneth observed. But the timing would have to be perfect. One mistake, and we lose everything. That's where the bond sword comes in, Marcus said, feeling the weapon pulse with approval. The blade doesn't just channel Keflari soulfire. It links minds across impossible distances. I can coordinate both halves of the fleet simultaneously, adjusting tactics in real time based on what each group encounters. Zarathin limped forward, studying the tactical display with growing excitement. The ancient texts speak of this. Battle meditation, they called it. The ability to see through the eyes of every bonded warrior, to command as if all were extensions of a single will. It has not been successfully performed in over 1,000 years, Elder Sylvana warned. The mental strain alone has killed warriors far more experienced than you. Yeah, well, Marcus said with a grin that was more confidence than he actually felt. I'm having a day full of impossible things. Might as well add one more to the list. The communications officer who had brought the initial warning stepped forward again, her expression troubled. Sir, there's something else. We are receiving scattered transmissions from human resistance cells throughout the sector. Word of your situation has spread. How scattered? Marcus asked. 17 different groups, ranging from a dozen fighters to full military units that went underground after the occupation. They are asking for orders. Marcus felt his breath catch. Orders from who? From you, sir. They are calling you the bonded commander, the human who speaks for both species. The officer paused, then added quietly, they're waiting for you to tell them how to fight back. The cargo bay fell silent as the full scope of what was happening became clear. This wasn't just about preventing a single battle or saving one fleet. This was about igniting a rebellion that could span the galaxy. How long until those human resistance groups can reach our position? Marcus asked. Some are already en route, the officer replied. The closest should arrive within 4 hours. Others are days away, but they are moving. For hours, Marcus mused. 2 hours before the hegemony fleet arrives. Elder Sylvana stepped closer, her voice low and urgent. Marcus, you cannot seriously be considering a three-way battle. Marcus finished. Keflari forces, human resistance, and hegemony fleet all converging on the same point in space? It's completely insane. Exactly, Captain Lyraneth said with a predatory smile. Which is why it might work. Marcus raised the sword again, feeling the silver fire course through the blade and into his very soul. The markings on his arms were spreading faster now, reaching his shoulders and beginning to trace delicate patterns across his chest. With each new marking came new awareness, new connection to the warriors around him. Signal all Keflari vessels, he commanded, his voice carrying the authority of ancient bloodlines. Prepare for subspace transition on my mark. Signal all human resistance groups. Tell them the bonded commander has a battle plan, and they are invited to the biggest party in galactic history. And the hegemony. Zarathin asked that Marcus's smile was sharp enough to cut steel. Tell Admiral Coraxthal that Marcus Thorne accepts his surrender demand. I will be waiting for him right here. Just me, 47,000 of my wives, and whatever friends decide to show up. The cargo bay erupted in cheers and war cries as the impossible plan began to take shape. Through the observation windows, Marcus could see Keflari ships already beginning to maneuver into formation, their sleek hulls gleaming like silver arrows against the stars. He looked at the sword in his hands, feeling the weight of destiny and the power of connection flowing through him like liquid lightning. In less than 6 hours, this system would become the site of the largest space battle in recorded history. And somehow, against all odds and logic, Marcus Thorne was starting to think they might actually win.